I don't think we talk enough about grieving the version of yourself that actually did succeed. There's a quiet grief that comes with starting over when you're not starting from nothing. And in this video, I am going to break that down a little bit more because this morning I definitely felt that grief. And I was a little bit shocked by it at first. And I processed it in a way that I don't think I've processed grief before. And if you're someone that feels like you have built something before, maybe built multiple things, regardless if that's a career, if that is finances, a relationship, a life somewhere that you were actually proud of and happy to live, only to find yourself in a space where it's like you're starting all over from scratch, especially if this is not your first time feeling like you're starting over again from scratch, then this video is definitely for you. So this morning I had a little bit of a strange experience for myself. I was on Threads and I was scrolling through Threads and I saw a post from someone who was talking about something they were really proud of doing that they had just realized that they could do. And I was so excited for them because I was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing that you just discovered this, because it helps a lot, because it's something that I've been doing for a very long time. However, it was something in regards to websites. And right now, my website is not active. My website is not up. So when it clicked to me that, like, yo, this is something you've been doing for a long time, but you're not currently doing it now, I felt happy for the individual, but I almost didn't feel qualified to even talk about it anymore in the comments and like hype up this person and be like, yo, these are the different reasons why. And like, because now I'm like, if they come to my page right now, I don't have that structure to be able to be a credible source of information. And when it hit me, this weird sense of grief came over me that I'd not experienced in that context before. And I actually was inspired to post a thread about it. And I'll go ahead and I will pin that thread that I posted in the comments below if you want a little bit more context about how this video for today is coming about. That was a moment that I was not expecting. And I wasn't really sure how to name the emotions I was feeling at the time. And after pausing and feeling the tears run down my face, I realized, okay, this is grief. I'm grieving the version of myself that I was actually proud of. I'm grieving the version of myself that worked so hard to accomplish things, to do things that I was passionate about, and actually had created or started to create something substantial. And the more I sat in that grief, I realized that it's something that I've experienced many, many times. But this is my first time actually naming it and sitting with it and being able to feel it and understand that starting over can be challenging in itself. But for individuals that have had progress in their life and have done things that they're proud of and have built something only to start over again from scratch, especially if this is not your first, second, third time starting over, it can feel a little frustrating when although you're happy and grateful for the progress that you are making, there's parts of you that you almost wonder where you would be, where you could be, if you didn't have to start over from where you were. And I think it's very healthy to acknowledge that, and not to wish that you can go back to that time space, because obviously there's a reason for everything. You're absolutely exactly where you need to be. You know, all those words of encouragement that might sound extremely cliche, but are very, very true, because we're all exactly where we're supposed to be. And being able to acknowledge those successes and celebrate them, even in times where you're not currently there and you don't feel like you have anything to show for, you have that experience, you have that wisdom, you have those memories. And I think one of the biggest things for me, why it hit me as hard as it did today, is because when I was doing those things, I didn't really celebrate them. And I think that comes from an earlier part in my life where I was, again, at a space where I felt like I was accomplishing things, and I felt like maybe I was too optimistic about where I was. So the other go around the sun with everything, and I felt like I had achieved some sort of level of stability and success in what I was trying to create. I didn't really celebrate at all, because I felt like there's more I could be doing, and I could go harder and do more, and all that great overachieving perfectionism thoughts that come up. So if you are someone right now who is experiencing this, just know that you're not alone. You are not alone. And it's okay to sit with that grief, name that grief, and really take a moment to celebrate those past moments, those past chapters of who you were that never truly got the recognition that it deserved. And know that those parts of you are still within you, and you have an opportunity going forward to build on that in such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful way. Because you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from wisdom. I think one of the most important things to remember is that the grief that you're experiencing is not about failing or failure. And a lot of times it's framed in that way. And what it truly is the grief of loss of continuity, because there's been a pause. So let me explain that a little bit more in my context. So for myself, over the past few months of me gaining some momentum, although there were losses and there were challenges, it's almost like I feel like I'm picking up from a part in my life where I had great momentum, and there were obstacles and challenges and situations that threw off that progress. And it's been a long span of time in between where, yes, I was doing things and achieving goals, but it's almost like I was numb to those experiences because I was so focused on the thing that the experience itself wasn't necessarily being celebrated in that moment. And it's almost like there was this huge period of time that, although I remember it and I can speak to my life and how my life was during that time, it's almost as if there was like a disconnect between this last chapter in my life where I felt progress and where I am now. So it's almost like that chapter, which was many years ago, is now bridging with this current chapter, which is a little strange, but I could never truly understand it until this moment. And one thing that I really want to encourage you is, if this is resonating with you, know that the person that you were in that time, in that season, who you are now is not necessarily different from that person in regards to the ability to continue to move forward, to implement everything that you did in those seasons, in those chapters of your life, was really just your training ground for who you are becoming in this season of your life. And looking back at those experiences should really encourage you to recognize that you are extremely powerful and you are more than capable of doing that times 10. But now, at this time and season in your life, you have more clarity. You have maybe dived deeper into your vision and seen that vision in a way that wasn't exactly what you thought it would be. So your vision has probably increased and gotten better and gotten sharper, and your purpose has become more rooted and more powerful, for lack of a better word right now. That version of you has only augmented in frequency. That version of you has only become more potent. And as I'm saying this, I'm getting so excited because it's nice to finally name that grief from this morning, but not only just name that grief, but to recognize exactly how capable we are to start over, but start over from a place of intelligence and wisdom and understanding and fulfillment. So that way, whatever we do now, in however way we decide to move, there's a potency, there's a substance to it like there has never been before. And sitting in that knowing right now is truly giving me peace and joy, not only for myself, but for you watching this video, if it's resonating with you thus far, is that you have not even scratched the surface of what you're capable of achieving. And those reflections of those past experiences that you created for yourself were not in vain. They were meant to prepare you for exactly where you are now. Oh, I get so excited thinking about that. So one of the biggest takeaways that I think is important to remember is that you are not behind, because I know that's something that I can attest to feeling. It's really that you were just interrupted. And just like anything in life, any interruption in life, if you're watching a movie and you get interrupted with a phone call, or if you're on one phone call and then someone else calls you, or any interruption that takes place in your life, you have the opportunity to pick back up from where you left off. And as you're reflecting on these past experiences, if you never had the opportunity to truly celebrate those successes, I encourage you to take a time for yourself. Maybe pause the video and do it now, or schedule a time in your calendar to really celebrate that moment, that season, those successes that you had, especially if you never had a chance to celebrate them before, and acknowledge how proud you are of who you were, who you became, who you're becoming, and get excited about what's to come, because that same version of you laid the foundation. Because yes, I'm very proud of a lot that I was able to accomplish in my younger years, in my previous years. But ultimately, I know that I had to grow regardless. There were things that were obviously not sustainable that had to be refined and that had to be shifted and changed. And I'm grateful for the shifts and the changes. But I think it's important to celebrate the wins and the successes if you never had an opportunity to do that, to tell yourself how proud you are of yourself, to clap for yourself, to give yourself a round of applause, to tap yourself on the back, all of that good stuff. Hold yourself, hug yourself. Remind yourself of how capable you are, because if you did it then, you can do it again, and you can do it a lot better. Because trust me, you are a stronger, more intelligent, more capable version of yourself now than you were back then. Grief is not even about wanting to go back to that version of yourself, as I feel like stated earlier, but it's really just about the fact that you loved those aspects of yourself and they weren't celebrated in the way they deserve to be celebrated. So it's never too late to celebrate. Make a list, journal about it, write about it, acknowledge those moments so they don't feel like distant memories. Integrate those experiences of the success that you felt into your present moment and sit with that. It's never too late to celebrate what you have accomplished, even if it's something that you're not currently living. And I know this can be challenging. I know I've struggled with this. Like, for example, this morning, what prompted this whole video, the thread and then the video, is just feeling like, well, because that aspect of my life is no longer tangible, it doesn't mean that it no longer exists. Remember, you didn't lose anything. If anything, you've integrated it. And growth does not always look like forward motion. It's not always momentum. Growth is often resilience. And the fact that you had the strength and the courage to get up and keep going makes you so resilient. And that is something to be proud of. So as you are celebrating your past successes and preparing for your future ones, know that it is completely okay to love and celebrate both versions of yourself. It is completely okay to love both versions of yourself, because although there was a lot of growth that had to happen between that version of you and the person who you are now, there's a lot that you accomplished as that version of you that is guiding you into this next chapter of your life. It's completely okay for you to miss who you were while you're also learning to love and accept and appreciate and envision the more powerful version of you that you are becoming. Just because growth can be quiet, still, and unseen doesn't mean that it's any less important. And it doesn't mean that it's not happening. It is still very, very real. And that is something for you to hold and cherish. And it doesn't necessarily have to be shared with everyone, because you know what they say nowadays, moving in silence is a major key. If you're open to commenting, the question of the day is, do you remember a time where you were super successful that you feel like you're grieving now as this new version of you? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. I just want to thank you for being here, and I want to remind you that you are not alone. Thank you so much for your time to vibe with me today for Vlogmas Day 20, and I look forward to seeing you in Vlogmas Day 21.